Today I wish to raise a different matter with you, a serious matter, the epidemic of violence against women in our country. Yesterday, former Garda Paul Moody was sentenced to prison for a terrible, prolonged campaign of coercive control against his partner. He's already served a 3-year sentence for coercive control in respect of another woman, Nicola Hanney. It's 4 months since I raised with you the treatment of former Garda Margaret Loftus and praised her courage in telling her story of coercive control. Yet, as reported in last week's Examiner, her former husband remains a member of the Gardaí. And in Paul Moody's case, we read of serious failures by 𝐁𝐴𝐴 to take effective action when alerted to his conduct. Taoiseach, yesterday the CEO of Dublin Rape Crisis Centre, Rachel Morrow, stated that record numbers had contacted their helpline last year, almost 24,000, the highest ever, over 7,000 first-time contacts. Garda figures show that more than 1,000 domestic abuse reports are being made a week, and official statistics we know represent only a fraction of the true number. Nearly 40% of victims surveyed by the Garda Inspectorate said they did not report the abuse they suffered, and about half who did report abuse said they were dissatisfied with how they were treated. So, Taoiseach, this should stop us in our tracks. Far too many women and children across Ireland are experiencing home as not a place of safety, a place of danger. And I know we've made progress on domestic, sexual and gender-based violence in recent years, legislating for the offence of coercive control, Coco's Law, the O'Malley Report, the establishment of 𝐂𝐚, protective services units in Garda divisions. But we must do more. And I have a constructive policy call for you today. Frontline organisations like Women's Aid tell us that financial insecurity and the housing crisis are trapping women and children in violent homes. Many victims simply cannot afford to leave, and their abusers know this. That's why the Labour Party and Labour Women are proposing a €3 million safe fund for victim survivors of domestic abuse. A practical measure to provide fast financial support for those who desperately need an escape route, not means-tested, providing help when needed, recognising victims often have only a small window of opportunity to escape, because freedom from violence should not be a luxury and nobody should have to remain in danger because they can't afford to leave, just as no victim should lose faith in a justice system because their cries for help are dismissed or delayed. So, Taoiseach, will you commit to establishing a safe fund to help victims of domestic abuse? And what will you do to ensure abusers are not accommodated within the ranks of An Garda Síochána, and to see that complaints of abuse are taken seriously by Taoiseach to respond?
Well, this part of Wéchas Gwaile tá sochtan ceis práinnig seo ardú agus é an tíimleat gur uafása an scéile fad an méid foréigean I gcuine mená sa tír seo. Thank you for raising this extremely important issue. I think what we witnessed yesterday in terms of the revelations in that court case, in terms of Paul Moody, were quite shocking and horrendous and made for extremely difficult hearing and reading, and the level of abuse that was evident in that case. Equally, the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre's reports, and in terms of the use of its national helpline, 24,000 times it was contacted, a 5.5% increase from the previous year, and the annual report outlines unprecedented levels of demand here. And the government, as you've in fairness acknowledged, I think over the last 3 to 4 years there's been a sea change in how we've approached this issue, in terms of both the establishment of 𝐂𝐚. Funding now is about €18 million, sustaining support for frontline services, accelerating delivery of safe accommodation with a commitment to provide 280 safe spaces by the end of 2026. Legislatively, the Ministers continuing to introduce various legislations, Jenny's Law, the Domestic Violence Register, for example, Valerie's Law, the removing guardianship rights of those convicted of killing partners, and laws to restrict the disclosure of counselling notes in sexual assault court cases. The Ministers pushing the outer limits of legislation to give protection to women and to deal with this. And I think that is real, tangible progress across funding, across legislation, prevention and victim support. But we will continue to strengthen those supports for victims and survivors. And again, the domestic violence travel supplement, which Minister for Social Protection I understand is introducing and committed to, and that is this month. And then free travel when referred by a 𝐂𝐚 registered agency. Again, I'll ask both ministers to work with you in terms of any additional funding or any specific ring fencing of funding for any specific purposes. We're open to that in terms of any constructive proposals on that. We have strengthened the overall legal, we've modernised the legal framework to better protect victims, the enactment of the Family Courts Act of 2024, the Criminal Justice Act of 2023. They've all been significant. And then the O'Malley report and the implementation
Time is up, Taoiseach. Deputy Bacik.
Thank you for watching. Please like and share.